that tension and that anxiety is something that you guys are really proficient at. So I want to know more about writing that into your films. How do you approach writing tension and suspense into your stories?
The big thing about it is short in general, but like what is the drip feed of information that you get across the film? How do you sort of like meter out what the viewer is experiencing and how kind of like that can build or change your experience watching across the film? I think also a big piece of it too is trying to find decisions and scenes that are pushed by the characters. And so we have this interesting kind of like, the characters move one way, the world responds a different way. The characters move another way, the world responds. And so you have this nice kind of like chain of action reaction that really can kind of like power your movie across its duration or whatever. And so I think when thinking about writing tension, there's a very specific kind of way that like we're bringing in these sort of like horror tropes, these thriller tropes into the language of those movies, into a space that in some ways isn't traditionally a horror thriller space. And so trying to find ways to imbue the moments that we have in these spaces that are not traditionally thriller or horror with those really intense, elements or scenes is sort of like what makes this film, I think, work in some ways.
And I think I would just add in that we think a lot about what we don't show, and I think that that's like a classic horror use, and on this, as we think about what do you see on a screen of a phone, how do we frame it so that we're not showing you a lot of things. And I think in many ways we as humans, we want to see the whole picture, right? But when we can only see a little slice, it really adds an intensity to it. And that was certainly something that we found with Flounder and as well as A LIEN.
Yeah, and also trying to like where do you put your viewer in terms of their understanding? Where, like, are you behind the character's understanding? Are you ahead of the character's understanding? How do you like manipulate where the audience is, where they are in the character versus the character's knowledge of the scenario? And I think in both these films, we've tried really hard to keep you basically exactly abreast of where the characters are and their knowledge of what's going on. I think that keeps you on your toes and makes you, stay in the world with them. We had some, in the writing, we talked about various ways we could have explained things more or more clearly or more obviously. The characters, maybe they call somebody and that person explains what's going on, and we sort of ended up stripping all that away. And it's like, no, it's better that if we're just in there, they're confused, we're confused, and that's like okay, and we can all live in that kind of like discomfort, and that helps again drive tension as well.